It's my privilege now to introduce today's speaker, Justin Taylor. Justin was born and raised in South Africa, so we are in for a treat really no matter what he tells us today, right, with his beautiful accent. When Amber, his wife, was a missionary in South Africa, they met there, and she is, her mother, his wife's mother, so his mother-in-law, is a third-grade teacher at Arborbrook Lower School from the very first day of Arborbrook, so he has a connection with us anyway, so isn't that special? Now Justin and Amber have a precious son, Colin, and they both minister at Carmel Baptist Church. Justin's passion is to lead people to a place where they can discover God's love and to be a witness to God's working in their lives. In his ministry to college-age students, which you are about to be, Justin loves to teach, sing, and lead worship. His family lives in 3 continents. His parents and his brother live in South Africa. His sister lives in Australia, and the rest of his family lives in the United States of America. So he is quite the fabulous family spread all over the world, and we are so honored to have Justin Taylor be our speaker today. Welcome, Justin.
People, they're the wise virgins and the foolish virgins. There's nothing in between. I think if I wrote the story, I might have had a middle category called forgetful. But forgetfulness and neglect is not a category. I remember driving one year down from Johannesburg to the Drakensberg Mountains in South Africa, about an 8-hour drive. It was the middle of winter, the mountains were really cold, and there was a music festival going on. And so I was going down for that, to participate in that. And about 7 hours into an 8-hour drive, I thought, I know I'm forgetting something. And I looked around my shoulder, bedding. And it was a campsite where everyone was sleeping in tents, and I forgot my blanket, forgot my pillow, forgot a ground sheet, all of that. So I had to use a wet towel over my shins and a jacket over my torso, and I took a t-shirt and I stuffed it with every other piece of clothing that I had, and that was my pillow. I kind of think that the bedding would have been nicer. But I left my blanket behind because I was forgetful, not because I was foolish. Foolishness happens when you know what you ought to bring, but you don't bring it because you assume you won't need it. So these ladies, these virgins, weren't being openly defiant. They were just assuming too much. Verse 1 says that the 10 virgins all went out to meet the bridegroom. So they all assumed he would be there. The time had come for the bridegroom to come, and so they were going. They didn't just kind of walk outside and say, maybe he will come one of these days. The time had come for the bridegroom to come. And so they were expecting, all of them, expecting that he would be there. And under normal circumstances, they would have gone out to meet the groom, he would have been there, and all would have gone inside. But the difference is that the 5 wise virgins were prepared for that just in case. Because in verse 5, the bridegroom, it says that the bridegroom was delayed. And that's a curveball that they weren't expecting. That he was delayed to the point that they all fell asleep. Notice even the wise virgins fell asleep. But they were ready even though they were asleep. The other day, it was a Friday because I know there was no school, and Mom was coming to help. Mom, that's Mrs. Demet. I call her Mom. She knows me. So, anyway, Colin, our son, had woken up several times during the night, and so I'd had a lot of broken sleep, and I was a bit of a zombie in the next morning. And Colin had woken up early after broken sleep, and so Amber said, go down and play with him. And so we went down, and Colin was playing on the floor, and I was passed out on the couch. And she came, and she was about to leave. And she knew that I was about to go to work as soon as Mom came. And so she said, here, put on these jeans so that if Mom comes early, you'll be ready. And so I was like, half asleep, and I kind of put the jeans over my PJs and lay down on the couch. She left, and the next thing I heard was a knock on the door, and I woke up in a slightly comatose state, and went over to the door and opened it, and I realized I'm in my PJs. And I looked down, and I had jeans on, which was great. So if you are wise, you can be ready even in your sleep. Now, when the groom was delayed, that was a curveball. And a curveball can be thrown to anyone. Being hit by a curveball doesn't make you foolish. But assuming you'll never have a curveball does. Graduates, you need to know that in college and your career and in real life, it's going to be full of curveballs. If everything goes as planned, that's great. But you need to make sure that you have enough oil. So what does oil look like in 2013? What do I have to have enough of to make sure that I am known by God? The foolish virgins thought that their lamps would last long enough. The wise woman made provisions so that knowing that although they had lamps, just like the foolish ones, they knew that they wouldn't last without help, without effort, and without investment. You're about to enter the next chapter of your life, and you have a lamp. You have a lamp of faith that you're holding on to. But if you assume that you will keep that faith without making any provision for it now, you may find your lamp going out. If you will be wise, you cannot assume that you will make provisions later on once it's too late. Because Jesus knows those who make provisions now for their faith. So, what does oil look like today in college? Now, here are a few thoughts. 1, find a church or a campus ministry wherever you are. Long distance church never works out, and you have to find a place where you can connect with believers wherever you find yourself. So, you know that I'm a college minister, and so part of what I do is minister to those who are in college that are living in Charlotte, but then I go and make visits to those who are out, either out of state or on the utter ends of this state, and go and visit them and encourage them and take them out for a meal or coffee, just to encourage them and let them know I'm thinking and praying for them. And I tell them whenever they're all home for the summer, I always make a point of saying, if I come to visit you and you say, I'm sorry, Justin, I can't meet with you, I have an intervarsity meeting, or we're having a crew Bible study, or I'm meeting with some church friends, I'll know that I've done my job correctly. Because I cannot be a pastor to people who have gone away. You have to find a church where you are. As said, long distance church never works out. Number 2, pray for godly friends now. Most of you will be going into college in the fall. Some of you maybe in a year's time. You have time now to start praying for the friends that you will make. Which leads to number 3. In the first 3 weeks that you're on campus, be very intentional about the kinds of friends that you make. Statistics say that most people develop their lifelong friendships, or at least their college-long friendships, in the first 3 weeks of being on campus. So those first 3 weeks are crucial to make sure that you find the right kind of friends and make wise choices in the kind of friends that you hang around with. And lastly, pray, be in God's word, and worship the Lord with both your lips and your life. Let these be the oil that you take with you. And so now, graduates of 2013, here is your charge. If everything I've said up to this point has been boring, I'm sorry, but remember this. Keep your lamp burning and make sure that you have enough oil. So that when and if you hear a knock on the door, you'll have your jeans on. And so that you can say it about God. He knows me. Thank you very much.